She blew out the candles, leaned back in her chair, and smiled at me like she'd been waiting her whole life for this moment. Best gift you could give me? Leave my life and never come back. Don't ruin my day again. The room erupted in laughter. Hers sharp and cruel, my father's low and guttural. He didn't even look at me when he said it. She's been dead to us for years anyway. I didn't answer. I just stared at the flames still curling from the candle wicks. Their glow flickered across their faces. Two people who had spent my whole life convincing me I was nothing. And in that moment, I decided they'd never laugh at me again. Before the fire in my chest, there was blind loyalty. I used to think my mother was untouchable, elegant, sharp, always with a plan. When I was a child, I studied her every move, thinking if I mirrored her grace, maybe she'd look at me and see herself. She didn't. Instead, she gave her pride to my sister. I got her indifference. My father was no better. He measured my worth by the weight of my silence. As long as I didn't speak, I wasn't a problem. But I stayed. I stayed because I believed blood meant something. That was my first mistake. The cracks showed long before the birthday party. It started with whispers I wasn't meant to hear. The way my father spoke about me to family friends, like I was an inconvenience they couldn't throw away. The way my mother erased me from photographs on the wall, claiming she wanted to keep things tidy. Then came the real blow. The will. I wasn't supposed to see it, but papers left out on a desk tell their own truths. Everything, house, savings, heirlooms, was written to my sister. I didn't just get nothing. I wasn't mentioned at all. That was when I understood. They weren't planning to push me away someday. They had already buried me. I let the hurt turn into something useful. Anger burns too hot to hold for long, but if you let it cool, it sharpens. I didn't cry. I didn't confront them. I just started watching, listening. My father's construction business wasn't as clean as he pretended. My mother's charity accounts had transactions that would turn her friends into enemies overnight. I started collecting things. Copies of bank statements, screenshots of messages, photos of handshakes that happened in shadows. Months passed. They didn't notice me. They never did. The plan came together quietly. First, I needed distance. I moved out without fanfare, just a quiet exit they took as surrender. That was my camouflage. Second, I needed leverage. I sent anonymous tips to a few people I knew would bite. Reporters, competitors, even an old friend of my father's who never forgave him for a deal gone bad. Third, I needed to choose the moment. Timing is everything in revenge. And what better moment than the next birthday? The night of the fall. The restaurant was expensive, the kind where they called you sir even if they knew your name. My mother was in her element, dressed like royalty. Friends and acquaintances gathered like disciples. I waited until the wine had loosened their tongues, until laughter filled every corner of the table. Then I gave my gift. A manila envelope placed gently in front of my father. Inside, copies of the evidence. Financial fraud, bribes, tax evasion. For my mother, printed screenshots of her messages to her charity partners, siphoning donations into her personal accounts. I didn't say a word. I just watched them open it. Watched the color drain from their faces. Watched the people at the table lean in, their curiosity turning into suspicion, then disgust. The silence was deafening. And then came the ripple. One guest excused himself, phone already in hand. Another whispered to someone else, eyes fixed on my parents. My father's old rival smiled like Christmas had come early. My mother's hand trembled as she reached for her glass. My father's jaw locked so tight, I thought his teeth might break. The best part wasn't what I did. It was what I didn't do. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't insult them. I didn't explain. I just stood, looked my mother in the eye, and said, "Happy birthday." Then I walked out, leaving them to drown in the weight of what I'd set in motion. Aftermath. By morning, the stories had spread. Articles, rumors, investigations, bank accounts frozen, invitations rescinded. My mother's charity shut down. My father's business contracts canceled one by one. They called me. I didn't answer. They showed up at my apartment. I didn't open the door. The last time I saw them was from a distance, sitting in a courthouse hallway. They looked smaller, weaker, like the world had finally seen them the way I always had. Closure. Some people think revenge is about rage. It's not. It's about control. It's about giving back the pain in a shape they can't return. On her birthday, my mother asked me for the best gift I